welcome back to Mika Reacting Reviews. We're reacting reviews to things on the internet, and today we are going to be reacting to an interesting video today. We're basically going to be reacting to the homeless situation and the complexities and the nuance of it that is happening in Los Angeles, California. We're going to talk about the cause and effects and ways that it can be helped. The person that's going to be interviewed in this video is the creator of the YouTube channel called Soft White Underbelly. I believe that's the name. He interviews a lot of people who are deemed undesirables by society and people in general, like prostitutes, drug addicts, pimps, homeless people, and just like all sorts, right? And I love his channel. I think what he does is very interesting, and I've been wanting to react to something that he's done for a while now. I believe a lot of reactors reacted to his Appalachia video about the inbred family, and I was gonna react to that because it went pretty viral, but I don't know. I found the video interesting but a little bit hard to follow, incoherent, so I decided to wait off. I didn't just want to react to one of his interviews with pimps or prostitutes or drug addicts, even though I find those interesting and I would like to react to those videos, but I didn't know how you guys would respond to that, so I just held off. But I saw this video and I thought, okay, I will react to this and see if you guys respond to it well. I'm a little connected to this because I lived in LA for a long time and I worked in nonprofit with the homeless situation, or helping the homeless situation, mainly focusing in on women and adolescents or teens. We had a really good success rate, so I learned a lot about the homeless situation when I was there. Granted, I haven't been there in 7 years and it has literally got like 10 times worse since I've left, and not just because of the global situation. Like, it just gradually has gotten worse because of the policies that LA has going on anyway. They're going to talk more about that in the video. Anyway, we're going to get right into it, but before you do, if you like this type of videos, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell to get notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support this channel even further, you can donate. My PayPal and Cash App link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. Of course, it helps, but you don't have to. You can just like, comment, subscribe. Another great way to support this channel is either join my brand new membership program, different levels, different tiers, different perks, or you can visit my brand new merch shop. Links down below. Other than that, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. All right, here we go.
All right, guys, here we are, downtown Los Angeles, downtown Skid Row, 6th Street, here with Mark Leda.
Everybody makes a big deal about how we need to fix homelessness. And in LA, it looks really awful, right? You have homeless people living all over the city, right, even in some really expensive, really nice neighborhoods. But I don't believe the problem is homelessness at all, because if you peel back the layers, you've got drug addiction behind the homelessness. Okay. Like, all these people are drug addicts. You have a hard time finding some that aren't. So then you say, oh, the problem is drugs. Like Nancy Reagan said, the problem isn't drugs. So you peel back another layer, and then it's mental illness behind that. Okay. And then you can say, oh, the problem is mental illness, but what causes that? So you peel back another layer, and you've got the childhood trauma, the broken families, all that kind of stuff that people went through.
When people say just give people homes, you're saying that's not a solution, or that's part of a solution, or what do you think?
Well, no, I mean, it provides a little bit of stability for people, right, and that's not a bad thing, right? But like up in North Hollywood, they built these like mini homes for people. They provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it's basically free housing. Yeah. Like, they've been giving people free housing here. This building is full of drug addicts,
that's
basically.
All free.
And there's lots of that down here. Or it's like, $50 a month or something like that.
What about drug rehab? Isn't that going on down here too? Or?
Yeah, I mean, there's that. The problem with rehabs is there to do it right, I think, is tremendously expensive. Like hundreds of thousands a year, I would think.
Per person?
Per person, yeah.
The surface is housing. You peel back, you peel back, you peel back. Basically, it's upbringing. Is that what it comes down to?
I mean, with the broken families, you can boil that down to like poverty or the greed of the rich, and you just keep peeling back the layers. But when you get to the very bottom of it all, I think it's just loving each other. It's just love.
Right.
Love is the answer to all this kind of stuff. Like, LA is putting people up in housing. I think they're just doing that just to make it look better. Okay. Because it's embarrassing. You come to LA and there's homeless people everywhere in front of your nice house. So that makes it really embarrassing, right? So if you put them all in housing, then it looks better.
Santa Monica, where I'm staying, it's worse than I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I don't think they have the same housing there. And a lot of people that left here, or maybe got housing or got kicked out, maybe they relocated to Santa Monica or Venice or North Hollywood or Hollywood.
So is it fair to say, though, there are different types of homeless, those that have the drug issues, like you're saying?
And then mental illness is a huge part of it.
I mean, some people honestly fall hard on their luck, though.
See, I mean, a lot of the problem is also education. So because that guy's probably not going to get a job at a fast food restaurant or anywhere else, hardware store, because he can't really speak intelligently, then it's just going to make his life harder. So the opportunity inequalities, the education inequalities, the poverty, the broken families, the broken homes, all that stuff leads to the mental illness, which leads to a drug addiction, which leads to homelessness. There's new people coming in. I'm right down the street from the Greyhound bus station. There's more people coming all the time.
You've been down here 20 years, right?
Yeah. Everybody, to a certain extent, they're all lonely. That's why they're down here, more or less. Lonely inside, lonely mentally. You know what I mean? It's an element of a lot of things. That's why people down here. It's just not drug use. And the drug use is just a way of escape, or not really deal with the issues that's going on in here.
Right.
And in here,
there's no easy solution, obviously. But
the solution is up to the individual, because I can't make a decision for the next individual. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Ultimately, they have to make their own decisions within themselves. You know what I mean? To either deal with the issues or not to deal with it. You know, this is the result of not dealing with it. Same with me. You know what I'm saying? A lot of issues I have, I choose not to deal with. So I choose to run around here and act retarded. It's just a temporary fix. This kind of makes the issue even worse. So.
Pungent smells coming through.
No
toilets around here, right?
Yeah, the smells are pretty horrible.
Pretty hardcore.
I don't bring my shoes into the house. I leave them.
Where do people go number 2?
In the bathrooms. Or on the
Where
corner.
are the bathrooms?
Paint bucket.
Oh,
yeah, buckets, corners, baskets. Ooh, they don't.
There's that one woman that does it right here. She'll do it right here, right in front of you.
Yeah.
Right.
Just take a dump.
Yeah. And then we got the refresh center right here, where they can take shower, wash your clothes, use the bathroom, and all that type of stuff.
There's showers over here.
Yeah, right here.
Okay.
Yeah, they call it the refresh spot.
Okay.
And you can go there and take a shower. You can charge your phone. You can do your laundry. Here you've got the missions that are giving free clothing. You know, Los Angeles is a wealthy city. A lot of people are donating nice clothing. That's why you see these interviews with people that are dressed really well on my channel.
Right.
But they're homeless. They're as broke as you can imagine. And then the missions provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right.
And there's all kinds of other services, mental health, all that kind of stuff is available here. But in other parts of the country, they don't have any of that stuff. If you were homeless and drug addicted, wouldn't you rather be in California where it's 42 degrees at night rather than Chicago, which is
so it's attracting people.
10 degrees?
It's attracting people from all over the country?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I've heard many stories of people like, how'd you get here? Well, the police department in my city kicked me out and put me on a one-way ticket to LA on a Greyhound bus. I've been here for 12 years.
Yeah.
I don't see it getting any better. With fentanyl, it seems to be even worse. More people dying.
All right, stopping it there. There's a lot that he said that I totally agree with, and there's some things that he said that I don't necessarily agree with. Like, people in Los Angeles is really quick to throw money at any situation, but as we see, like, throwing money at something does not solve the problem. It's almost like the least thing to solve the problem. And I'm not saying money doesn't fit into the equation of how to fix an issue, but just constantly throwing money at something never solves a problem. Los Angeles is one of the most progressive cities and states. California is one of the most progressive states in all of America. And a lot of people know that, right? It has warm weather, and there's tons of programs and free amenities and free things and money and cash and housing for homeless people or just low income people. So a lot of people flock to Los Angeles if they're homeless or struggling because they wanted to take advantage of those social safety nets, right? Like he said, free housing, 3 meals a day, clothes, like free medical care, free women medical care, like you get free phones, you get free transportation, free education, free mental health. There's anything that you think that someone just throw it at somebody that this will help them. LA provides those programs for homeless people and for low income people or people who are struggling. But there is still a humongous homeless problem in Los Angeles. So obviously that is not the issue. I did a reaction to Russell Brand and Candace Owens a while ago that you guys really liked.
It's a tiny minority of people that are like you, that come from a poor background and manage to overcome it. And this is what's a problem I've noticed with a lot of great people, is they sort of believe that their greatness is something that can be replicated, and I don't think it can.
I see. So I believe in the individual, you don't. That's our fundamental differences.
But
You're discounting the human spirit.
I'm not discounting
yes,
it. I'm
is.
saying that's all
Let me
there
ask you-
is.
And Candace Owens' point was these people need to be accountable for themselves, and it really is up to them to fix their lives when he was talking about like mental health, right? And Russell Brand thought what she was saying was harsh and that no, these people just need love and there's just not enough programs for people and stuff like that. But again, you have Los Angeles, which is the perfect experiment to see if just throwing all the money and throwing all the programs at someone does not necessarily fix the issue. It just welcomes more homeless people to come and stay there. But it doesn't necessarily get people off the street and does not fix the root problem. He hit on it for a second and he says, it starts at home. And that's literally the fix of the root problem. Now, fixing that problem, that is complex, and that is gonna take years of fixing, because again, just in the Black community alone, there's over 70% of single mother rate. It's gonna take a long time to get that percentage to go down, right? That is not a quick fix whatsoever. And another thing that a lot of people don't want to hit on, because he hit on a lot. He said upbringing, education inequality, finances, poverty, all these things. But what a lot of people don't want to hit on is culture, because America is far from the only place, or Los Angeles is far from the only place that has a poverty issue. There's tons of third world and developing countries that have poverty that do not turn to crime and still have a strong family structure, because that is a part of their culture. Having a strong family structure is a part of the culture. Having a mom and a dad who get married and have babies and stick around with each other, whether they love each other or not, that is a part of the culture. So just because someone living in poverty does not equate to, okay, well, the family unit has to fall apart and they have to do crime because they have no choice and they have to be on drugs, because the global poverty has showed us that just because you live in poverty doesn't mean you do those things. A lot of it has to do with culture, or maybe just access or acceptability to drug use and stuff like that. So a lot of people don't like to hit on that, because it feels like you're blaming the victim when you say like, oh, it's just your culture that helped facilitate your behavior, right? Also, mental health and drug addiction is definitely not classes. There's tons of rich people or well-off people or middle class, upper middle class people who suffer with mental health and drug addiction. I actually knew homeless people that come from well-off families who was on the streets with mental health and drug use problems. However, the statistic does show when you have when you come from a single mother household, you are more inept to become a drug addict or deal with mental health issues. That percentage rise, you are more susceptible to it, right? Or you're more susceptible to being imprisoned, where you can also become an addict. You can have access to drugs in prison. So like, it's not classes. It doesn't only affect the poor by far, but if you come from those situations, if you come from a broken home, you're going to be more susceptible to it. And I like how the Black guy he lives on Skid Row, he's been a part of that culture for a long time. I think, and then this is the thing, like when you come from that life, when you come from that lived experience, you actually have more of a blunt point of view on it than people from the outside. I feel like a lot of people from the outside have more of a like, oh, they just need love and understanding and empathy and sympathy, and I'm not saying those things aren't needed. However, the guy that lives that life, he's like, yeah, no, they just need to change their mindset. Like, it's up to the individual. Because it's true. It's the same thing with me. I come from a broken home. I was extremely abused as a child. I deal with severe mental health issues. So for me, I'm less inclined to be like, oh, just hug them and cuddle them and that's all they need. I'm like, no. It's up to that person. They need to just change their mindset. That's like, you can give them, again, Los Angeles is the perfect example. You can give them all the money in the world and give them all the programs in the world and all the housing and all the food and tell them that they're amazing and love them and give them clean clothes and showers so they can have more dignity about themselves, and it does not fix the problem, because at some point that individual has to make the decision to fix their own issues. But ultimately it starts at home. The other one thing that I disagree with him was the whole like, the drug rehab programs need more money. As we've already seen, throwing more money at something does not fix the issue. When people can put their drug rehab programs on their medical insurance, and you can get free medical insurance, basically medical health care basically in LA, a lot of rehab centers was popping up in LA like wildflower, because they were just throwing money at these rehab centers. And what was happening is people were just taking advantage of it. It's just like the foster care system, where people will foster more kids just for the paycheck. Rehab centers was taking more people in because they were getting money for it, and they weren't even helping these people. There were stories about people coming out and saying that the rehab center was letting them do drugs in the rehab center, or even giving them drugs just to keep them in the rehab center so can get more money. Again, throwing money at something without any plan to fix the root issue is never going to fix the situation, or is never going to fix the problem. All right, let's continue. Hope that was coherent.
Right.
The homeless community is bigger. You know, it's more spread out over the city. You know, 12 years ago it wasn't in Santa Monica and Venice like it is today. Here on Skid Row, I would say 90 to 95% of these stories of these people came from homes where dad was in prison, mom was on drugs. And they had no role models. They had nobody to look up to and say, wow, I'm going to be like him one day.
Right.
Like I did.
Right.
It was easy for me. Had great role models, had great opportunities, had a great education, had a stable household. These people had none of that. And until they get that, not these people, but their kids or maybe their kids' kids, nothing's going to change. So that's what has to happen. I made an intro to my channel where I said the government is the answer, but I don't even know what the government's going to do.
It's not just a money problem.
Well, I mean, money is always a huge factor in all these kind of things. It's a complicated problem, and I don't think it's an easy fix. And human nature is to go, let's just find the easy solution to this person. Just get a job and stop doing the drugs. It's a much deeper problem. But it's not going to be just like, oh, we just need to provide housing like LA is doing. I find these stories fascinating and interesting. I also feel like if we're ever going to change it, we're going to have to understand it. And I'm helping facilitate that. I've learned a lot by doing these talks, and I think if you watch my channel regularly, you'll learn a lot about how things work or how things are not working. A very good friend of mine who I've known for decades, she reminded me when she saw what I was doing with this channel. So it's funny because I remember going out to dinner with you once, and we were at a street corner in the car. We were in traffic and stopped at a red light, and there was a homeless guy out there panhandling. And I just mumbled underneath my breath, like, just get a job. I mean, I still have those thoughts today with some of these people. But when you hear the most horrific stories you can imagine about their childhood. I had a woman come up to me, and I said, I'll just kind of have them run through their story a little bit so I get to know what their story about is before I bring them in. And she goes, well, I was molested by my dad when I was 10 years old, and I had his child when I was 11. That's not a good thing.
Right.
I don't care how you slice it. That's a hell of a way for a young girl to grow up. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to fix these people that are broken. And I don't even know if that'll work. If you want to make a difference, I think the way to do it is to think long term. Maybe help their kids or their kids' kids. And the way to do that would be stabilize the households in these poorer communities around the country, not just LA. I mean, I'm talking nationwide and probably worldwide.
Right.
And that'll help the family stay together. You know, why is dad in prison? Because he had to do something illegal to make some money. And why is mom on drugs? Well, she was probably,
Why couldn't you do something legal to make money?
He doesn't have an education.
Okay.
He didn't have any opportunities. He didn't see any role models of things that you could do to make money. He just saw, you hear it in my interviews all the time. I just, the only thing they ever saw were, drug dealers, gang members, pimps, and some kind of...
If this is your father, and this is what you see as a kid...
Yeah. How are you going to become a doctor or a lawyer? I know it happens. I am sure there are stories where that has happened, but those are the exception.
Okay, stop me there. So this is again where I'm going to disagree with him, okay? Like, you don't have to do anything. There's always a decision. You always have a choice unless you have a gun to your head or you live in the middle of Timbuktu and there's literally nothing around you and you have no choice but to like do crime or something like that. Again, I think it's culture because again, there's tons of other communities that are poverty-stricken around the world who do not turn into crime, whether it's because of culture, religious beliefs, the community itself just doesn't accept that type of behavior, or they have very, very harsh crime laws, like getting your hand cut off or something like that. You know what I mean? So like, I don't think you have to do anything. I logically understand that probably is the easier choice because of the situation in the community that you're in, environment that you're in. Just because something is easier doesn't make it okay, and just because it's something really difficult, I mean extremely hard, almost impossible, doesn't mean that it's not possible, and doesn't mean you don't make a choice to go the hard way around, right? Right now in Detroit, my father lives in Detroit. A lot of people aren't even working. They have that huge, like, what is that mass resignation that's been going on in America. It also has a really bad homeless situation in Detroit, drug addiction, mental health issues. My dad was like, there are employers that are literally begging people to get a job. Like McDonald's was offering something like $20-something an hour just because they were so desperate to get people to work there. So you could go sell drugs or you can go work at McDonald's, right? But the thing is, a lot of people who go sell drugs aren't doing it because they like, I just want to buy a loaf of bread for my baby and Pampers and milk. That's all I want. I don't want nothing else. No, a lot of people sell drugs because they want access, right? They want a car. They want flashy jewelry. They want to be able to flex, around their community, around their neighborhood. And yeah, they give some money to their mom and their baby mama and stuff like that. But you don't need to sell drugs to be able to just to feed your kids. You can go work at McDonald's, right? So there's always choices and there are always decisions. You barely need a high school education to go work at McDonald's, right? So I don't agree with that, and I think that attitude perpetuates that bad behavior when you have so much sort of like excuses or enabling that behavior by going, well, they don't have a choice. You always have a decision. I'm not saying it's not incredibly hard, but just because something is incredibly hard doesn't mean you don't do it. But the one thing I definitely agree with him on is sort of the education inequality. I definitely think schools that are in middle class, upper middle class, suburban areas are a lot better than the schools in the ghettos or poverty-stricken areas. And it's not even always just funding. I lived in Detroit. There are schools that are literally like the roof was falling off and everything like that, and the state threw so much money at them, millions of dollars, and those kids were still failing at a rapid pace. So money doesn't always solve it all. It's because, like, first of all, the teachers unions suck. I'm sorry if you're a teacher. It sucks, right? It's almost impossible to fire a teacher. Even if the teacher gets accused of touching or molesting a student, they don't fire that teacher. They put them up in a building somewhere and they still collect a paycheck, right? A lot of the teachers are either A, lazy, jaded, overworked, tired, just burnt out, because a lot of them, some of them who aren't getting enough funding, they have to spend their own money to buy stuff for the students. A lot of the classrooms are overcrowded with students. A lot of the more poor neighborhoods that have a lot of mass immigration, a lot of these teachers are dealing with students that don't even speak English, and that is really frustrating for them. So it's a complex issue. At the same time, I believe in letting a parent choose where their students or where their child goes to learn, because it makes the schools compete. If the teacher is like, no matter what I do, I'm still going to get paid. So if I'm not even barely teaching your student, if I'm not trying to help them, if I'm not coming up with creative ways to keep their attention, to help them learn, why am I going to work harder than I already am when I'm already feel like I'm overworked as it is, right? They're still going to get paid. Your student's still going to come here. You have no choice because of the location. The kid is attached to the school of the location that kid is living in. In other countries, they allow the kids to go to whatever school they want. And so the parents find the most highest performing school, and these are public schools, and they take their child there. That forces the schools to compete and actually try their hardest to teach your children, and so the kids can pass these tests, right? And so yeah, there's definitely education inequality, but anytime anybody ever brings up the idea of breaking down the teachers unions or allowing the parent to choose where their kids go, the teachers union fight so hard about that. They fearmonger and they propagandize the public to vote against that, right? So it's either allow our parents to choose where the kids go when it comes to education, or support more charter schools or homeschooling. I mean, homeschooling would be pretty difficult if you are already struggling at home, but let's continue.
The oversimplified solution to a super complex issue would be get the kids, basically go in hard on the resources with the kids.
That's my opinion on how to solve the problem.
You can change that cycle, and maybe 20 years you'll start to see some results out of that.
That's what I believe, but I don't think that trying to fix all these poor broken people on the streets is going to amount to anything good. But the only people I've seen really help themselves or really improve their situation, especially when they're addicted, are the people who just silently and quietly did it by themselves. There have been a few people that I've interviewed who just disappeared. And I get in touch with them, and they like, so what's going on? Oh, I went back to Chicago, where he was from. Alex, one of the guys I interviewed early on, he got into a program, and he stopped using fentanyl, which is like the hardest drug to stop using. But he did it. He didn't do it because I gave him a ton of money. He didn't do it because somebody, his family probably helped him. I'm sure they did.
What's a D-Day?
A decision-making day. Sometimes you just have a decision-making day where, you know what, I'm going to decide to do this, or I'm going to decide to do this. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it is you have to change the way you think, you know what I mean, before you can make better decisions.
But you're still on Skid Row.
Yeah, because I haven't made a decision to leave here. You know what I mean? I have to change my thinking, the way I think a little bit.
But a lot of people are addicted to the streets.
Yeah.
They love it down here. You give them an opportunity to leave. You give them housing, you give them a car, you give them a job, you give them everything they need.
It's the wildness. I'm addicted to the wildness.
And they come back here.
I'm addicted to the wildness. It's like I can wild out if I want to. If I wild out, and we say regular land, it's consequences.
It's a lack of responsibility that's attractive. It's the freedom. I don't have to get up and do anything today except get my fix and screw off for a day. And that's every day. And once you've been doing that for a long time, then it's like, oh, you want me to get a job and get a haircut and shower and get dressed and go to work and all that and pay taxes and all that shit? That.
So I could see a lot of these people, if you put them in a one bedroom in Santa Monica,
They're gonna come back.
they're going to be
come
bored.
right back.
They're going to be bored, right?
Yeah.
You got
Stopping it there. That is something that a lot of people don't want to touch on. A lot of people are addicted to the lifestyle, right? Or they're so ingrained in it that it's hard to break that habit, or it's hard to break that attachment from the street lifestyle, right? There was a documentary that came out a while ago about this film crew who gave this homeless man $100,000, I believe. And before they gave the homeless man the money, they stayed with him for a while. They talked to him. They interviewed him. They tried to get a feel of who he was. And even as an audience member watching it, this homeless guy seemed well educated. He seemed sound-minded. He seemed balanced. He seemed like someone, if you gave him an opportunity, he would take full advantage of it and fix his life, right? That is not what happened, because he had been on the streets for so long that he did not know how to integrate back into regular life, and he didn't want to integrate back into regular life, right? And it's not because they didn't offer him people. They offered him someone to help him manage his money. They offered him someone to help him get a job. They offered him people to help him integrate back into society. He fired all of them because he's a grown man. They weren't going to make him do it, and maybe they should have. Maybe they said, hey, we want to be able to keep this money, you have to take advantage of these people. But they gave him the choice because it's about decisions. They said you can take this help to your full advantage, or you can fire them. And he fired all the help they had. And the simplest things like waiting on the phone for the operator, or waiting on hold, he couldn't do. Going to the DMV and waiting in line, he couldn't do, because he was so used to just doing whatever he wants, when he wants, and how he wants, that he didn't want to follow the rules of society anymore. And within a year, not only did he blow all of that money, he was in debt because the credit card companies started coming after him because they saw he had money. And so again, throwing money does not work. It's such a nuanced and layered problem. Again, I think the root is starting at home, and the reason why a lot of people won't talk about that is because we live in a progressive society today that actually wants to dismantle traditional homes for some reason, BLM. But yeah, so anyway, let's continue.
kids.
Yes.
Okay. How many?
9.
9.
No, as I said before, it's human nature to want to oversimplify the solution. And just like LA is finding housing for people, and that's going to fix the homelessness problem. Well, the problem still exists. It's just they're in boxes now. But these people they're still drug addicted. They're still broken people. They're still traumatized. They're still not healed from that. You're not going to solve these problems. You're not going to fix what's broken in these people with money or even rehab. You see how often people relapse. So there's no guarantee that these people will get better if you give them all the help, all the tools they need to get better. But if you raise the kids well and you love them and you give them the opportunities and the role models to live a better life, then most likely they'll have a better chance of that. But here's another thing that is controversial, but I think about this a lot. Look at the nature of our planet. The coyote eats the rabbit. The coyote doesn't eat the rabbit and have to think about it and regret it or feel any guilt. It's going to do it again tomorrow. The hawk eats the snake, and the snake eats the frog, and everybody just is ruthless. And some are winners and some are losers. The lion wins when it kills the antelope, and the antelope loses. That's the nature of the planet. So why would humans be exempt from that? I just think it's the nature of our planet. There are people who are going to thrive, and their kids will go to college, and they'll have great jobs and they'll great opportunities, and they'll live great lives. And there are others that'll suffer and never have those chances. I mean, you want everyone to win. Every kid that competes in the swim meet to get a trophy.
Well, that's what happened with the millennials, and now look what we got.
Yeah. So it's an ugly truth, but the truth is some people win and some lose.
Stopping it there. Yeah, he's right. And I think Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about this, that it's practically impossible, if not just impossible, to have opportunity of outcome, because again, people are going to be born in all different situations with all different capabilities and with all different privileges and downfalls. It is impossible to have equality of outcome. You try to create the equality of opportunities, like making the schools level at the same level, or allowing parents to take their kids to schools that are actually helping kids achieve what they need to achieve, instead of forcing parents to continue to push their kids into failing schools, or opportunity zones like Mr. Trump was trying to create, and all these famous black leaders just kept bashing on and nobody wanted to support. But at the end of the day, yeah, there are some people who are gonna just win more than others. And I want to backtrack a little bit when he was saying like, if you come from a broken home, you don't have good role models or good mentors, how can you be a doctor or lawyer? You don't have to become a doctor and lawyer to be a decent human being. And I think we need to break that stigma of these desirable positions and stuff like that. Like having a simple trade is still a respected thing to do. Maybe they're not, maybe they can't get there, but maybe they can be a technician. Maybe they can be a plumber. Maybe they can be a construction worker. Maybe they can be a carpenter, or maybe they can be a manager at McDonald's, whatever. That's better than living on the street in Skid Row and popping out kids and just continuing the cycle. So I don't think that should be the goal. I think the goal is making sure that they, we create a strong foundation of two-parent homes that is balanced, that is healthy, that is loving, that is kind, that is stable, that is safe, so these people can grow up and have a mindset so they can make better choices. Anyway, let's continue.
I'm eternally hopeful.
How are the cops down here?
The cops are great. To me, I love the cops, but I'm sure there's other people that don't. But the cops tend to let people just do whatever they want. You'll see people smoking on a smoking their pookie pipe, which is crystal meth or crack, or
right.
With a needle.
Right.
And the cops roll by. They know what's going on. They're not looking to arrest anybody. As long as everyone's self-contained down here, they're fine with it.
Alright guys, that was it. Tell me what do you think about the video, what they said, what I said. Please put in the comment section below. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell to get to notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support this channel even further, you can donate. My PayPal me link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. Of course it helps. If you don't have to, you can just like, comment, subscribe. Or another way you can support this channel is to visit my brand new merch shop. I also have a second travel vlog channel. I travel as a lifestyle. I live abroad. If you'd like to know where I am in the world, you can go just click on the description box below and hit the link. Go subscribe to my travel vlog channel and or follow me on my travel Instagram, my stories, which usually was most up to date. And you guys have an amazing day. Bye.
To lead his audience into the scene he described.